I'll play some Sweet Sweet Creed.
We're gonna hit it.
Now,
I had
Matt,
this
you're a
idea.
movie guy. Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh.
But are you a horror guy?
I am, yes.
The song was made popular. The What If from Scream 3. Did you see the Scream 5 trailer? Any interest?
Yeah, I'm interested. I like that franchise overall. I think Scream 4 is better than a lot of people gave it credit for. They just need to revisit it.
I think you're absolutely right. I think Scream 4 is a great concept.
I'll double down. You're also a horror movie fan, so I'd like to know your thoughts on the horror movie Home Alone Again, coming to Netflix in December.
Is that a WWE movie?
No, it's the spiritual successor to the original Home Alone series.
Oh, God.
Yikes.
It's going to be so bad.
Yeah.
The thing sucks.
Now, I would love if they did a Home Alone 5 with Macaulay Culkin as an adult.
Right. Like that.
Living in the house of his parents. And the children, the sons of the wet, sticky bandits have it out for him and come for him. And you make Home Alone an actual, like, suspense thriller.
I like
leaning into the fan theory that Kevin McAllister is actually the Jigsaw killer.
Does he have like the remains of his father like in the basement or something? Like,
yeah,
I like that. I like that idea.
It's dark. I like it.
But this what if topic, I had this a couple of weeks ago, and I can't even necessarily remember why I had it because I wrote it down and then I didn't bring it up. It was going to be on last week. We didn't have time to get to it. But like where would like secondary, and I put that word in quotes, like things beyond WWE, even just beyond WWE. Like I get AEW's like right there at the top right now, but like anything that's not WWE, like where in a post WCW world, where would secondary wrestling be if TNA never existed? Like, would it be where it is today? Would there be an AEW today? Would
I think what would have happened is because Ring of Honor to TNA, I believe. I got to get my dates right here.
Was it Ring of Honor 02?
They were both 02.
Oh, okay.
But Ring of Honor started February 2002.
Who started Ring of Honor? Was it Rob or was it Gabe?
Rob Feinstein. So
Rob, okay.
Technically, Ring of Honor is older than Impact Wrestling by 4 months. But Impact had Jeff Jarrett and everyone else.
Right, like TNA, to their credit, and in some ways to their own, to their own, dismay or whatever. They were the only ones before AEW that felt like there was any possible blip on the radar that they were going to not challenge the WWE, but like because they had a little bit more money, they had a little bit more sway, like whatever it meant when they did, they brought in Hogan and they had, Kurt Angle. I mean, Kurt Angle, some of his best work might have been in TNA Impact. Like
I think wrestled longer in Impact than he did the WWE.
He did.
Yeah.
So like they kind of WCW'd themselves in ways, but like Ring of Honor never felt like, at least to me, and more of a outside WWE, more of a casual viewer, never felt like Ring of Honor. I didn't even know what Ring of Honor was for a long time. So, but like I knew what TNA was. I knew what Impact was.
Right. And to me, if Impact didn't exist, Ring of Honor would have been bigger, faster, and it would have been bigger, longer.
Okay.
Because you also have to think that there were 2 time periods in Ring of Honor's history in which there was a working agreement between Ring of Honor and Impact that allowed Impact talent to work Ring of Honor, and then ROH or Impact reneges on that agreement and go, well, now we need them. AJ Styles was a big player in the very beginning of Ring of Honor. He gets pulled and then he comes back again in 04 and then gets pulled again. Amazing Red, humongous in the Ring of Honor scene in the very beginning in 2002, has a classic match with Low Key, I think at one of the first 3 or 4 Ring of Honor shows ever, where they do the crouching I think it's on Ring of Honor's very first event, The Era of Honor Begins, where they do there is a sequence in the ring that it looks like Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, where it's amazing. Ring of Honor would have had access to those talents that Impact had, but then you also have to think, while Impact did showcase, or TNA showcased a lot of that independent talent in the X division, where's a Monty Brown? Where is Abyss? Where is Ron the Truth Killings? Where does Raven land? Like, Raven does a stint in ROH in 2003, but Raven is a huge part of TNA.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you go, like, obviously as you go along, like, Christian comes, Christian, Sting, Tomko, Big Sexy Kevin Nash, Gold DDP, Rhino, who's a big part of Impact then, now, and forever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think ROH's footprint grows to accommodate some of the larger talents and moves forward. Like, and also you have to think too, to say that TNA doesn't exist means that when WCW fails, Jeff Jarrett decides he doesn't want to get into the wrestling business. I find it hard to believe that if TNA didn't exist, Jeff Jarrett would have found a way to do something else. It wouldn't have been TNA, but it would have been something. He might have gone back to Memphis and he might have started something up in Memphis again. He could have, to piggyback off of the stuff from My World, partnered back up with the guy who he's doing the super shows with in Australia that were the catalysts for the TNA shows. So, or does, in this scenario, in this what if scenario, is Jeff Jarrett actually a part of WWE's plans when the buyout happens? And Jeff Jarrett is brought in during the invasion angle as like the leader of the invasion.
Okay.
And it keeps Jarrett from doing that. Also, in this scenario, are we still accounting for WCW does die in 2001? Because that's where a lot of those talents come from too.
Yeah, I think we're looking at like in a post WCW world.
Yep.
If TNA doesn't exist, because like, you know, that was like the big shift in wrestling. And Charlie has a great point about the TNA. Without TNA, the foundation of like AJ, Joe, Daniels, they all stay in Ring of Honor. It's like I was like, look at those guys. Would guys like Joe, AJ, some of the others, would they have
CM Punk was,
you know,
CM Punk was an Impact? Yeah, like,
but like, yeah, it's a post WCW world where, because that's what changed everything. WWE is the only game in town. But then, like, you know, from the ashes of a WCW, you know, comes total nonstop action, and there's at least a product that's a little bit back on TV in some form and fashion, that people can recognize, because you know who Jeff Jarrett is, like you know who Mike TNA is, like when you have the voice of TNA. So they were utilizing people that were all of a sudden gone, that now you at least have a place where they are. Like I don't, it's like I said, it's hard for me to necessarily figure it out, because for me it was, even when WCW was in the game, like to me WWE was always like on top. So it was only during the Monday Night Wars that I really started watching WCW. So like I don't know. I like I wonder if we get, does WWE, and like does it even have an impact on WWE, like because of the rise of guys like AJ Styles and the quote unquote smaller talent, like does WWE make that shift, like with CM Punk and then eventually to Daniel Bryan, and they bring in AJ Styles, and we see a much different makeup to the WWE roster than we ever had before. And I think like that was a product of the, again, quote unquote secondary wrestling product that I think TNA and Impact had a huge hand in. And maybe it is, maybe that is the answer, that Ring of Honor is in that place. Ryan, any thoughts?
We don't get the wrestling debut of Brooke Hogan. We don't get Steiner Math if there was no TNA Impact. The Canadian Destroyer maybe isn't what it is today because Petey Williams doesn't have a platform like Impact Wrestling. I'm just saying it could have happened. But it also gave some more veterans a place to apply their craft in between stops in their career. Sean Waltman, Team 3D, Jeff Hardy, all had stops, maybe not always super successful, but these are guys that went through TNA as well. And who knows, Jeff Hardy had that really, really, really bad incident. Maybe if that doesn't happen in Impact and that happens at like an indie show or something crazy like that, does Jeff get the help he needs to that puts him where he's at today back on the WWE roster? What if, says Creed, what if?
Matt, Mark, any thoughts?
Well, if it wasn't a TNA, would we really have a War Games?
War Games! War Games! War Games! War Games!
Yeah, I think plenty has been said in terms of, the point Ryan made, that a lot of people that found later success outside of WWE, like a Mr. Anderson even, that there's people that didn't have great careers in WWE that did find some level of success with TNA. So it is a good what if question, but a lot of, I think TNA's success is just kind of what TNA's success, if you can call it that now, is just kind of giving these guys the next opportunity to showcase on a bigger stage than an indie scene.
Bye, Mark.
Bye, Mark.
Rip.
Charlie says the interesting thing about this conversation, without TNA, what happens to Double J or Vince Russo? Well, I think Double J ends up somewhere. I think Tim had a great point there about.
Yeah, he did start Global Force later down the road.
Yeah, like if Jarrett wanted to be in the wrestling business, and maybe without TNA, he doesn't, or maybe he takes some time off after WCW, and eventually the WWE just brings him back.
I would say that the biggest benefactor of Impact Wrestling has clearly always been the Knockouts division. They've always taken that division very seriously. So I think women's wrestling overall, like, do we still see the renaissance that it had then, with the rebuild with the AJ Lee era and the Four Horsewomen, without a Knockouts division? I'm not entirely sure, honestly.
It's a great call.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
That's something that ROH especially at that time, never did.
Right.
Or cared to do. They're starting again a little bit, but it's a great call, Matt.
Yeah. But any other thoughts to this before we move on to two topics that probably won't take up as much time, obviously, as we're getting closer to the end of the show.